All right, hey, good morning, everybody. Not sure how many of you will actually see this, considering I'm a couple weeks late on it. Um, I've been at Fort Polk, Louisiana, doing some Army training, JRTC, for those of you that are familiar. Um, Two hurricanes, and as you might have read on the last post, we had to move the aircraft to Texas. So pretty eventful. Uh, Fun fact: Fort Polk, Louisiana, does not have cell phone service. Didn't know that existed in the United States still, but there is no cell phone service there. Very little, I should say. But anyways, without further ado, so this is going to be the scenario number two, where you're covering for your buddy on a trip where you're taking a radio show host around to cover the morning traffic. So I think I'll just get right into it. So there's a lot of unknowns, right? So you have very little information besides you're going to go cover traffic, which you could brief your route prior. So I think it's always smart to have a plan and stick to your plan, right? And kind of go off of what you have, have expected, right? So the big thing here is that you're going to end up being presented with a scenario that you didn't plan for. Probably a route that's different than what you planned for, and what you're going to do is going to be off the cuff. Now, that immediately by itself will inject some, some risk, some higher risk than if you were planning everything. So, the route, I kind of just talked about it. So you don't really know. You're probably not super familiar with the route. You could have discussed it and briefed it prior for what you planned on doing, but now you're going to go to this accident. So you're not going to be familiar. You're going to have to make sure that there's nothing in the area as far as, national monuments or anything that you're not supposed to be flying over. Maybe MOAs or any kind of restricted airspace or anything like that. So you got to make sure you check that on the off the cuff if you decide to circle over this accident. My personal opinion, I would initially do it. In the Apache world, we always brief if one of our sister ships goes down. We're going to go see if we can check on the crew, check on their well-being and immediate condition of the crew. And if they're good, like maybe they wave at you or something, then you go get help. As far as prolonged circling over the accident for reporting purposes, I would let this DJ know that I would not do that. That if he wants me to go over the accident to give initial reports to the emergency services or something, then I will do that. But the moment that emergency services get on station, I'm going to stay clear of that immediate area, because you never know, they might need to bring a helicopter, medevac, HEMS aircraft in or something, and there's no reason for us to just hang over the top and just add another factor of risk into it. So I've kind of drifted there a little bit, but so trip and pilot, or route and trip, we already kind of talked about it. It's going to be an unfamiliar situation. I'm covering for somebody else, so there's a lot of things that I'm not familiar with. So that is that's an issue. Pilot, same thing. How many hours do I have in the aircraft? Am I familiar enough with its stall characteristics and the feel of the aircraft to maybe put it in a slow, low flight profile over this accident? So we all know that. So kind of going into environment, we know that Part 91.13 says no PC will operate an aircraft in a careless or reckless manner as to place persons or property in undue risk. So it also states 91.119 also stipulates altitudes to be of sufficient altitude to allow flight to a safe landing area should an engine fail, 1,000 feet congested and 500 in otherwise non-congested areas. So right there, no matter what, if there's traffic and stuff, that's gonna be congested area, and you're not gonna be able to land on the road if there's heavy traffic, if you have an engine failure. So I would say 1,000 to 1,500 feet. I would go over the top to let him get enough eyes on to check on the situation, and then if he wants to do a little bit of reporting, but I'm not going to hang out over the top for a prolonged amount of time. External pressures. So this is this is probably the biggest one here. So you've agreed to help this guy out, and he's going to ask you to do everything. He's going to ask you to, hey, can we go over here? Hey, let's do this. Come over here. And you, as the pilot who knows the regulations and for the FAR, and this, and is the person responsible for keeping everybody safe, is going to have to be the one to tell him no. A lot of times we don't like to tell people no, especially if you're going to be flying somebody around for a commercial. You're getting paid. They're paying you, right? So you're like you think that you need to please them, but in reality, you need to make wise decisions. And oftentimes that means telling somebody no, or changing it. They want you to be right over the top. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to be like, 1 mile standoff and, maybe 2,000 feet. And I'll try to give you eyes on as much as possible. Something like that. Some other factors, it's already at 5 minutes, some other factors that I would, if you did get over the top of this accident and he's strictly just wanting to report on it, but he doesn't, he's a DJ guy or whatever, he doesn't really care about helping medical services on to the scene per se. But you, as the pilot, you're going to have to know if a helicopter is going to be coming on station, make sure you're up CTAF or whatever. The emergency service guys might be coming on and be looking for that. As well as, can you talk to the guys on the ground? If, maybe if they have a radio that you can tune in and ask them, hey, do you need any assistance or something like that? I think that you can do that for for a second in the initial phases of it, but because that is not your job, then you should just immediately remove yourself as quickly as possible from that situation once the professionals have it. So I think I've covered everything here. Ultimately, bottom line is that's not what you're out there to do. I would be very cautious about getting myself in that situation. So like I said, I would initially go there to just make sure to give an initial report to maybe medical services, but then I would remove myself in that aircraft from that emergency situation. So thanks for listening. Look forward to hearing from everybody.